The whispering woods beckon. The moon hangs like a pearl tonight, casting silver threads through branches that have witnessed 1,000 years of secrets. Here, where the ancient oaks lean close to whisper their stories, a young woman walks the moss-covered path with careful, reverent steps. Her name is Alara, and she carries something precious in her hands. You can hear it, can't you? The gentle susurrus of leaves overhead, speaking in a language older than memory. The whispering woods have always been a place apart from the world, a sanctuary where time moves differently, where the very air seems to hold its breath in anticipation of something beautiful. Alara's footsteps make no sound on the forest floor. Centuries of fallen leaves have created a carpet so soft, so yielding, that even the deer pause to marvel at its silence. She moves like someone who belongs here, though this is only her second time walking these paths. In her hands, she holds a small book. Its leather cover is worn smooth by countless fingers, its pages yellowed with age. This is no ordinary collection of stories or poems. No, this is something far more precious, something that was nearly lost forever. The book contains lullabies, but not the ones you might expect, not the gentle nursery rhymes passed down through parlors and nurseries. These are the forgotten songs, the lullabies that women once sang in the deepest hours of night, when the world felt too heavy to bear alone. Songs that carried more than melody. They carried magic. Alara discovered the book quite by accident, tucked away in her grandmother's attic after the funeral, hidden beneath layers of moth-eaten quilts and photographs that had faded to sepia dreams. Her grandmother had never mentioned it, never spoken of the careful notations in the margins, the pressed flowers between certain pages, the way some verses seemed to shimmer in candlelight. But the moment Alara opened it, she understood. These weren't just songs. They were keys. Keys to something her grandmother had been protecting all these years. The first lullaby she'd tried to sing had been clumsy, uncertain. Her voice had cracked on the unfamiliar syllables, stumbled over rhythms that seemed to follow the heartbeat of the earth itself. But something had stirred in response. Something gentle and ancient and infinitely patient. That's when she'd known she needed to come here, to these woods where her grandmother had once walked as a young woman, where the songs belonged. Tonight the forest seems to be waiting for her. Every shadow holds invitation. Every rustle of leaves sounds like encouragement. The very air tastes of possibility and old magic, the kind that doesn't demand or take, but simply offers comfort to those who need it most. Alara pauses beside a massive oak whose trunk could shelter 12 people. Its bark is deeply grooved, telling stories of storms weathered and seasons survived. She places her palm against its surface and feels warmth. Not the warmth of sun-heated wood, but something deeper, something that pulses gently, like a sleeping giant's heartbeat. "Hello," she whispers, and her voice seems to blend with the night sounds around her. "I've brought the songs back." The tree's leaves stir without any wind to move them, a sound like gentle laughter, or perhaps approval. She settles herself among the oak's great roots, which curve and flow like natural armchairs designed by centuries of patient growth. The book opens easily in her lap, as if it remembers this place, as if it's been waiting to return home. The first page bears an inscription in her grandmother's careful handwriting, for the daughters who remember and the daughters who will learn to remember again. Below that, in different ink, older words, "The forest keeps what the world forgets." Alara traces the letters with one finger, feeling the slight indentations where her grandmother's pen had pressed into the paper. How many nights had she sat somewhere, copying these songs from memory? How many hours had she spent preserving something that others might have dismissed as mere superstition? The first lullaby is titled "Song for the Sleepless Moon." The notation beside it reads, "When worry steals rest and the mind won't quiet." Below that, in her grandmother's handwriting, sang this for your mother when she was teething, sang it for myself when your grandfather was overseas. Ilara begins to hum the melody first, letting her voice find its way through the unfamiliar intervals. The tune is haunting. Not quite major, not quite minor, but something in between that speaks to that space in the heart where joy and sorrow meet. Around her, the forest grows still. Even the insects pause their evening chorus, as if making space for something sacred. When she begins to sing the words, her voice is soft, uncertain. Sleep now, restless moon child, let your worries drift away. The stars will hold your secrets safe until the break of day. The words seem to take on a life of their own as they leave her lips. They float upward through the canopy, weaving between branches, settling like gentle rain on every leaf and flower. And something responds. It's subtle at first, just a sense of presence, of being heard by more than trees and nightbirds. But as Ilara continues singing, her voice growing stronger and more confident with each verse, the feeling deepens. The very air around her begins to shimmer, just barely visible in the moonlight. Like heat waves, but cool and gentle. The shimmer moves in rhythm with her song, pulsing and flowing like a visual echo of the melody. Other voices begin to join her, whisper soft at first, so quiet she thinks she might be imagining them. But they grow stronger, harmonizing with her simple melody, adding layers of sound that make her skin tingle with recognition. These are the voices of the women who sang these songs before her. Her grandmother's voice, young and strong, her great-grandmother's, carrying the accent of the old country, and others, stretching back through generations, each adding their thread to the tapestry of song. Ilara doesn't feel afraid. How could she be afraid of this? This is belonging. This is coming home to something she didn't even know she'd lost. The song comes to its natural end, the last notes hanging in the air like stars that refuse to fade. The shimmer around her settles into a gentle glow that seems to emanate from the very ground beneath the great oak. In the silence that follows, she hears it clearly. The sound that gives these woods their name. It's not the wind in the leaves, though it moves with the same rhythm. It's not the voices of the women who sang before, though it carries the same warmth. It's the sound of the forest itself, whispering, welcoming her back, thanking her for remembering. Ilara turns the page, her heart full of wonder. There are so many more songs waiting, lullabies for heartbreak and healing, for courage and comfort, for all the small magics that women have always known how to weave. The night is young and the woods are patient. The moon will travel her full arc across the sky before this work is done. But there's no hurry here, no rushing toward dawn. Time moves differently in the whispering woods, stretching and flowing like honey, allowing space for every note to find its proper place. As Ilara prepares to sing the next lullaby, she feels her grandmother's presence so strongly it's as if she's sitting right beside her among the oak's great roots. She can almost see her, young again, voice clear and true, adding her harmony to songs that were old when the world was young. The book seems to glow softly in the moonlight, each page holding its own small constellation of words and music. These are the songs that rocked babies to sleep in times of war and peace alike. The songs that soothed fevers and fears, that called down blessings and chased away nightmares. Tonight, in this sacred space between the world of waking and the realm of dreams, they will live again. Tonight, the ancient magic will remember itself through Ilara's voice, and the whispering woods will echo with lullabies that carry the power to heal hearts and quiet troubled minds. She takes a deep breath, feeling the forest's patience surround her like an embrace. The next song awaits, and with it, deeper mysteries. Deeper magic, deeper peace. The moon continues her journey overhead, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow through the canopy. And in the heart of the whispering woods, a young woman begins to sing again. her voice joining the eternal chorus of those who know that some kinds of magic are too precious to ever let die. The Guardian of Slumber. As Alara's voice fades into the gentle rustle of leaves, a profound stillness settles over the grove. The ancient oak seems to lean closer, its massive trunk creaking softly in what sounds almost like approval. She closes her eyes for a moment, letting the last notes of the lullaby dissolve into the night air like honey into warm milk. When she opens them again, the world has changed. The shadows between the trees have grown deeper, more purposeful. They seem to pulse with their own quiet rhythm, like the slow breathing of something vast and ancient. The moonlight, which moments before had felt gentle and welcoming, now carries an edge of mystery, of watchfulness. Alara clutches her grandmother's book closer to her chest. The leather binding feels warm against her palms, as if the songs within are stirring, responding to whatever presence now fills the grove. She can feel it, a consciousness that is neither human nor quite spirit, but something in between, something that has been here since the first lullaby was ever sung. Who walks in my woods with songs of sleep? The voice comes from everywhere and nowhere. It flows through the rustling leaves, resonates in the creaking branches, whispers along the forest floor like wind through grass. It is neither young nor old, but carries the weight of countless seasons, countless dreams tended and nightmares soothed. Alara's breath catches in her throat. She looks around the grove, searching for the source of the voice, but sees only shifting shadows and dancing moonbeams. Yet she feels watched, studied, measured. I am Alara, she says, her voice smaller than she intended. I've come to return these lullabies to where they belong. A soft chuckle ripples through the air, warm and not unkind. Many have come to these woods seeking magic, child. Few understand what they truly ask for. The shadows begin to move with purpose now, gathering and swirling like gentle smoke. They rise from behind trees, flow down from branches, seep up from the moss-covered earth. Slowly, carefully, they begin to take shape. First, a suggestion of height, tall as the oldest trees. Then the outline of broad shoulders, a noble bearing. Features emerge from the darkness like stars appearing at dusk. Eyes that hold the depth of midnight skies. Hair that flows like liquid shadow, threaded with silver that catches the moonlight. Robes that seem woven from the very essence of peaceful sleep. Deep blues and purples that shift and shimmer with each movement. This is Silas, the guardian of slumber. He has watched over the sacred grove for longer than memory, tending the delicate balance between waking and dreaming, between the world of daylight concerns and the realm of restorative night. You carry old songs, he observes, his gaze settling on the book in Alara's hands, songs that once flowed freely through these trees. But tell me, young keeper of lullabies, do you understand what sleep truly is? Alara blinks, caught off guard by the question. Sleep is rest, recovery. When we close our eyes and, Silas prompts gently, taking a step closer. His movement is fluid, like mist drifting across water. What do you believe happens when the eyes close and the conscious mind grows quiet? She thinks of her own sleep, often fitful and interrupted. Thoughts of tomorrow's responsibilities, yesterday's mistakes, the endless list of things undone. Dreams, she says finally, sometimes peace, though not always. Silas nods slowly. Sleep is the great surrender, he says, his voice carrying the rhythm of waves against shore. It is when we release our grip on control, when we trust in something greater than our waking selves. It is the daily practice of letting go. As he speaks, tiny lights begin to appear around the grove. Not quite fireflies, not quite stars. Something more ethereal. They drift lazily through the air, pulsing with a soft, steady rhythm that matches the beating of a peaceful heart. For some, this surrender comes easily. Silas continues, children, often. Those who have learned to trust the world's essential goodness. But for others, his eyes study Alara with gentle understanding. For those who carry too much, who feel responsible for everyone's happiness, who cannot set down the day's burdens, sleep becomes elusive. Alara feels heat rise in her cheeks. How does he know? How can he see so clearly the way she lies awake at night, mind spinning with worry for her friends, her family, her work, all the ways she might have done better, been better? The lullabies you carry, Silas says, gesturing to the book, they were not merely songs. They were invitations, gentle bridges between the world of doing and the world of being, between effort and ease, between holding on and letting go. One of the floating lights drifts close to Alara's face, hovering near her cheek like a tiny, luminous butterfly. Its glow is warm and comforting, and she feels some of the tension in her shoulders begin to release. But anyone can claim to carry sacred songs, Silas continues, though his tone remains kind. The woods have seen many who sought to use such power for their own purposes, to impress others, to gain something for themselves. He extends one hand palm up. In it, another of the gentle lights appears, growing brighter as she watches. If you truly understand the gift you carry, then share it. Not for my approval, not to prove your worth, but for the simple joy of offering comfort to another soul. Alara looks down at her grandmother's book, then back at Silas. She can see now that this is more than a test of knowledge. It's a test of intention, of heart. She thinks of her grandmother singing softly in the kitchen while kneading bread, never performing, never seeking applause, just offering love in the form of melody. The lullabies were never about the singer. They were always about the listener. Slowly, Alara opens the book. The pages seem to glow in the moonlight, the careful handwriting appearing to dance slightly on the parchment. She finds a song she remembers from childhood, one that always made her feel safe and cherished. "Sleep now, weary heart," she begins, her voice soft and unadorned. "Let the night winds carry your cares away. The moon watches over you, the stars keep you safe, and love surrounds you like a gentle embrace." As she sings, something beautiful happens. The floating lights begin to pulse in harmony with her melody. The trees seem to sway slightly, keeping time with the lullaby's rhythm. Even the night breeze grows softer, as if the whole forest is settling into peaceful rest. But more than that, Alara feels something shift within herself, the need to sing perfectly, to impress, to prove her worthiness. It all falls away. She's not performing. She's simply offering, giving freely of something beautiful, asking nothing in return. When the last note fades, Silas nods slowly. The stern watchfulness in his expression has softened into something warmer, something that looks almost like pride. "You understand," he says simply. "The true magic of the lullaby is not in the voice that sings it, but in the love it carries, the intention to comfort, the willingness to offer peace to another, even when we ourselves feel restless." The floating lights gather around them both now, creating a gentle constellation in the grove. Their combined glow is warm and soothing, like candlelight in a cozy room on a winter night. "These woods have been waiting," Silas tells her, his voice growing even gentler, "waiting for someone who understands that the greatest magic is often the simplest. A soft voice in the darkness, a melody that says, 'You are not alone,' a reminder that it's safe to rest, safe to let go, safe to trust in tomorrow's light." Alara feels tears prick her eyes, but they're not tears of sadness. They're tears of recognition, of coming home to something she didn't even know she'd lost. "Will you help me?" she asks quietly. "Will you help me return these songs to where they belong?" Silas smiles then, and it transforms his entire face. The ancient guardian becomes something warmer, a protector, a guide, a friend who has been waiting patiently for her arrival. "Child," he says, "I have been waiting centuries for someone exactly like you." The grove around them seems to shimmer with anticipation, as if the very trees are eager to hear what comes next. And in her hands, Ilara's grandmother's book grows warm, ready to share its treasures with the sacred space that has been their true home all along. The dream weaver's loom. Silas extends his weathered hand toward a path that seems to materialize from moonbeams themselves. "Come," he whispers, his voice carrying the weight of ancient wisdom. "There is something you must see, something that will help you understand why your grandmother's lullabies are more precious than you ever imagined." Ilara follows him deeper into the grove, her bare feet finding purchase on stones that gleam like captured starlight. The air grows thicker here, more alive, as if each breath carries whispers of dreams yet to be born. The trees part before them like curtains being drawn back to reveal a stage where magic performs nightly for an audience of sleeping souls. And then she sees it. The dreamweaver's loom rises before them like something born from the marriage of earth and sky. It stands 20 feet tall, its frame carved from what appears to be crystallized moonlight. Silver threads stretch across its width. But these are no ordinary threads. They pulse with gentle luminescence, some shimmering blue-white like winter stars, others glowing with the warm amber of summer evenings. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Silas says softly, watching Ilara's face with knowing eyes. This loom has been weaving dreams since the first human closed their eyes in sleep. Every dream that has ever danced behind sleeping eyelids, every nightmare that has ever caused a restless toss and turn, they all begin here. Ilara approaches slowly, drawn by the hypnotic rhythm of the loom's movement. It operates without visible hands, the shuttle dancing back and forth through the luminous threads with the patience of eternity itself. "Who works it?" she whispers, afraid to speak too loudly in this sacred space. "Sleep herself," Silas replies, settling onto a moss-covered stone beside the great machine. "Though she has had many helpers over the centuries. Women like your grandmother, women who understood that dreams are not random firings of a tired mind, but carefully crafted gifts meant to heal, to teach, to comfort." The book in Ilara's hands grows warmer still, and she opens it to find that new words are appearing on the pages, flowing script that writes itself in silver ink. She reads aloud without thinking. "Dreams are the threads that connect the waking world to the realm of infinite possibility." "Yes," Silas nods approvingly. "Your grandmother knew this truth. She understood that the lullabies in that book are more than songs. They are instructions, blueprints for the kinds of dreams that heal broken hearts and tired souls." As if responding to his words, the loom's rhythm changes slightly. The shuttle begins weaving with darker threads now, deep purples and midnight blacks shot through with veins of silver. Ilara watches, mesmerized, as these somber colors create patterns that seem to writhe and shift even as they're being formed. "Nightmares," she says, understanding flooding through her like cool water. "Necessary ones," Silas corrects gently. "You see, child, many people think nightmares are mistakes, flaws in the system of sleep, but they serve a purpose. They help us process fears, work through traumas, prepare for challenges. The problem comes when the balance is lost." He gestures to the loom, where the dark threads are beginning to overwhelm the lighter ones. "In your world, there is so much fear, so much anxiety, so much exhaustion from trying to be perfect for everyone else. The loom struggles to maintain harmony. Too many nightmares, not enough healing dreams." Ilara thinks of her own sleep, How often she lies awake replaying the day's failures, how her dreams have become filled with endless to-do lists and faceless crowds of people. She's somehow disappointed. How do we fix it? Silas smiles, and in that smile she sees centuries of compassion. With songs like The Ones You Carry, your grandmother was one of the last dream singers, women who knew how to guide the loom toward gentler patterns. When a mother sings a lullaby to her child, she's not just helping them fall asleep, she's programming the loom to weave dreams of safety, of love, of wonder. The book's pages flutter in a breeze that carries the scent of night-blooming jasmine. More words appear, and Alara reads them aloud. Let the worried mind find rest in melodies older than memory. Let the anxious heart remember that it is held by forces greater than fear. As her voice carries the words into the grove, something magical happens. The loom's shuttle slows, then begins incorporating threads of soft gold and gentle rose. The dark patterns don't disappear entirely, but they become balanced, integrated into designs that speak of courage found in facing fears, of strength discovered in vulnerability. You feel it, don't you? Silas asks quietly. The power in your voice, the way the ancient songs can reshape the very fabric of sleep itself. Alara nods, tears pricking at her eyes. She thinks of all the women who came before her, grandmothers and great-grandmothers stretching back through generations, each one adding her voice to this sacred work, each one understanding that the simple act of singing a child to sleep was actually a form of magic, a way of ensuring that rest brought healing rather than haunting. But why me? She asks. Why now? Silas stands and walks to the loom, placing one weathered hand on its glowing frame, because the world has forgotten how to rest truly. People lie in bed with devices that emit harsh light, their minds spinning with the day's digital overwhelm. They take pills to force sleep, but forced sleep cannot weave the dreams that heal. Only willing surrender to the ancient rhythms can do that. He turns back to her, his eyes reflecting the loom's gentle radiance. You carry something rare, child. The ability to help others remember how to let go, how to trust that they are safe enough to truly rest. Your grandmother saw this gift in you when you were small. Why do you think she left you that book? The realization hits Alara like a gentle wave. All those nights when she was little, when grandmother would sit by her bed, singing in that voice like honey and starlight. She wasn't just being kind, she was training her, passing down knowledge that couldn't be taught in schools or found in libraries. The lullabies, she whispers. They're not just songs, they're medicine. Medicine for a world that has forgotten how to be still, Silas confirms. Medicine for minds that race even in darkness. Medicine for hearts that carry too much of others' pain. The loom continues its ancient work, and Alara watches the patterns emerge with new understanding. She sees how each thread represents a sleeping soul somewhere in the world, how the songs she carries could influence those threads, could help weave dreams of peace for the anxious mother, rest for the overworked father, comfort for the lonely child. What do I need to do? She asks, though part of her already knows. Silas gestures to a small stool beside the loom, clearly meant for someone her size. Sit, sing. Let the loom learn the melodies your grandmother preserved. Help it remember patterns it hasn't woven in far too long. As Alara settles onto the stool, the book opens to a page she's never seen before. The lullaby written there glows with soft silver light, and she realizes this is why she came. Not just to return the songs to their home, but to activate them, to help them find their way back into the world's dreams. She takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of generations of women behind her, and begins to sing. The Lullaby of the Lost. Her voice rises soft and clear, carrying the ancient melody through the sacred grove. The loom responds immediately. Threads of starlight begin to move, weaving patterns that shimmer like moonlight on water. But as the song reaches its crescendo, something unexpected happens. The silver threads pause mid-weave, trembling as if uncertain. Silas steps forward, his ancient eyes reflecting concern. "There's something missing," he murmurs, studying the incomplete pattern. The lullaby calls for its companion, a song that was separated long ago. Alara's voice fades as she feels the incompleteness too. The melody hangs in the air, beautiful but yearning, like a question without an answer. "What do you mean?" she asks, her fingers still resting on the glowing page. "Your grandmother's collection is vast and precious," Silas explains, "but there was one lullaby that became lost to time, the lullaby of the deep rest. It was the most powerful of all, capable of soothing even the most troubled dreams, the most restless spirits." The wind picks up around them, rustling through the leaves with what sounds almost like whispered words. Alara tilts her head, listening. "The forest is trying to tell us something," she says softly. Silas nods, his expression brightening with hope. The woods remember everything, every song ever sung beneath these boughs, every dream ever dreamed in their shelter. If the lost lullaby can be found anywhere, it would be here. Alara closes her grandmother's book carefully, feeling a new sense of purpose settling into her bones. This isn't just about returning the lullabies anymore. It's about completing something that was broken long ago. How do we find it? "We listen," Silas says simply. "We follow the whispers. The forest will guide us, but we must be willing to venture deeper than most dare to go." The idea should frighten her, but instead, Alara feels a warm excitement blooming in her chest. This is what she came for, even if she didn't know it at the time. Then let's begin. They leave the Dreamweaver's loom still humming with incomplete magic, its threads waiting patiently for the missing piece. The path ahead winds deeper into the whispering woods, where the trees grow taller and their canopy filters the moonlight into dancing shadows. As they walk, Alara becomes aware of how the forest speaks. Not in words, but in the way branches sway without wind, in the pattern of leaves falling like breadcrumbs, in the soft chorus of night sounds that seems to pulse with hidden meaning. "Tell me about this lost lullaby," she says, matching Silas's unhurried pace. "How did it become separated from the others?" Silas is quiet for a long moment, and when he speaks, his voice carries the weight of old sorrow. "It was during a time when the world forgot the value of rest. People began to see sleep as weakness, dreams as frivolous. The most powerful lullaby. It was hidden away for safekeeping, but in the hiding, its location was lost. Who hid it? A dream singer, much like yourself. She feared that such powerful magic might be misused, or worse, destroyed entirely. So she gave it to the forest for protection, trusting that when the time was right, it would be found again. They come to a fork in the path, where 3 roots disappear into different depths of the woods. Alara pauses, uncertain, but the wind rises again, carrying with it the faintest echo of melody. It seems to be coming from the middle path, the one that leads toward a grove where the trees grow in perfect circles. "This way," she says with quiet confidence, and Silas smiles. "You're learning to hear what the forest offers. That's good. We'll need that skill where we're going." The middle path is softer somehow, carpeted with moss that muffles their footsteps. Here the whispering is stronger, and Alara begins to make out fragments of the lost melody. It's different from her grandmother's lullabies. Deeper, more primal, like the sound the earth itself might make if it could sing. "I can hear it," she whispers, afraid that speaking too loudly might frighten the fragile echoes away. "The closer we get to its resting place, the clearer it will become," Silas explains. But remember, this lullaby has been alone for a very long time. It may be hesitant to trust again. They walk in companionable silence, following the growing melody deeper into the heart of the woods. The trees here are ancient beyond measure, their trunks so wide that it would take a dozen people holding hands to encircle them. Spanish moss drapes from their branches like curtains, and fireflies dance between the hanging strands, their light keeping time with the distant song. Alara feels her grandmother's presence strongly here, as if the old woman is walking beside her, approving of this quest. She knew, didn't she? Alara asks suddenly. Grandmother knew I would need to find this missing piece. The wise ones always know more than they say, Silas replies gently. They plant seeds of knowledge that bloom when the time is right. Your grandmother gave you everything you needed, including the courage to venture into the unknown. Ahead, the path opens into a circular clearing where the moonlight falls unobstructed, creating a natural amphitheater. At the center stands a single tree, smaller than the giants around it, but glowing with soft internal light. Its bark is smooth as silver, and its leaves chime softly in the breeze like tiny bells. The memory tree, Silas breathes with reverence. I wondered if we might find our way here. As they approach, Alara can hear the lost lullaby more clearly now. It seems to emanate from the tree itself, woven into the very fiber of its being. The melody is hauntingly beautiful, filled with a longing that makes her heart ache. It's been waiting so long, she whispers, reaching out to touch the luminous bark. The moment her fingers make contact, the song grows stronger, and she can see images in the tree's glow. Generations of women singing their children to sleep, the power of rest and dreams flowing through the world like a river of starlight. But she can also see the moment when that flow was disrupted, when the world grew too busy, too anxious, too afraid to embrace the deep rest that the lost lullaby offered. The tree has been holding that song in trust, waiting for someone who could help it find its way home. How do I help it remember how to be sung? Alara asks, her hand still pressed against the warm bark. Silas moves to stand beside her, placing his own weathered hand on the tree. By offering it what it has missed most, the voice of a true dream singer, and the promise that its song will once again bring peace to troubled hearts. The tree's glow intensifies, and Alara feels the lost lullaby beginning to flow into her understanding. It's not just a song, it's a key, a way to unlock the deepest, most restorative sleep, the kind of rest that doesn't just refresh the body but heals the soul. She opens her heart to receive it, ready to become the bridge between what was lost and what can be found again. Echoes of the past. As the memory tree's ancient wisdom flows through her, Alara feels something shift in the very air around them. The lost lullaby doesn't come all at once. Instead, it arrives like morning mist, gentle and gradual, carrying with it the whispers of countless voices from ages past. Can you hear them? Silas asks softly, his weathered hand resting against the tree's luminous bark. The echoes. They're calling us deeper into the grove. Alara closes her eyes and listens. Beyond the rustle of leaves and the gentle creaking of ancient wood, she hears something else. Faint melodies drifting on the night breeze, fragments of the lullaby that once brought the deepest peace to restless souls. This way, she whispers, following the ethereal music as it leads them away from the memory tree and deeper into the heart of the whispering woods. They walk in comfortable silence, their footsteps muffled by centuries of fallen leaves that carpet the forest floor like a soft, welcoming bed. The echoes grow stronger with each step, weaving together into something almost recognizable, almost complete. The trees begin to change around them. These are older, more majestic than any they've encountered before. Their trunks are so wide that it would take a dozen people holding hands to encircle them, and their branches reach so high that they seem to brush against the stars themselves. "The Elder Grove," Silas murmurs with reverence. "I haven't walked these paths it must be centuries now." This is where the first dream singers learned their craft, where the original lullabies were born from the marriage of human longing and forest magic. As they enter a circular clearing, Alara gasps. The grove is unlike anything she could have imagined. 7 ancient trees form a perfect circle, their branches intertwining overhead like the vaulted ceiling of a natural cathedral. Between their massive trunks, the air itself seems to shimmer with memory, with the accumulated dreams of generations. "Look," Alara breathes, pointing to the base of the nearest tree. Carved into the bark, so old that moss has grown over parts of the inscription, are symbols. Musical notes intertwined with words in a language that feels familiar, even though she's never seen it before. Silas approaches the carving with careful steps. "These are the original notations," he says, wonder coloring his voice. The very first attempts to capture the lullaby of the deep rest in a form that could be preserved and passed down. Alara moves to the next tree, then the next. Each one bears similar carvings, but they're different, as if each tree holds a different verse, a different movement of the same eternal song. It's like a puzzle, she realizes. Each tree holds a piece of the whole. "Precisely," Silas nods. The ancient dream singers were wise. They knew that such powerful magic shouldn't be contained in any single place, so they scattered it, protected it, ensured that only someone with true understanding could gather the pieces back together. As Alara traces the carved symbols with her fingertips, the echoes around them grow stronger. She begins to understand that what she's hearing isn't just memory. It's the forest itself, singing the fragments it has held safe for so long. From the first tree comes a melody that speaks of twilight settling over the world, of the gentle transition from day's busyness to night's peace. The second tree hums with harmonies that ease the tension from tired shoulders, that remind weary hearts they don't have to carry everything alone. The third tree whispers of release, of setting down the day's worries like heavy stones beside a clear stream. The fourth speaks to those who lie awake replaying conversations, offering the gift of letting go. "Do you feel it?" Silas asks, watching as Alara moves from tree to tree, her hands pressed against each ancient trunk in turn. "The way each piece calls to the next?" She nods, tears of recognition streaming down her cheeks. This isn't just about finding a lost lullaby. It's about remembering what rest truly means. Not just the absence of activity, but the presence of peace. Not just stopping, but truly arriving at a place of safety and acceptance. The fifth tree carries melodies that speak to the deepest exhaustion, the kind that comes not from physical tiredness, but from the endless effort of being strong for everyone else. Its song offers permission to be vulnerable, to be held instead of always holding. The sixth tree hums with the wisdom of generations of women who sang their children to sleep, who carried lullabies in their hearts through times of joy and sorrow, who understood that sometimes the most powerful magic is simply being present with someone in their need for rest. And the seventh tree stands silent, waiting. "That one holds the heart of the lullaby," Silas explains gently, "the final piece that brings all the others together. But it will only reveal itself to someone who truly understands what they're seeking." Alara approaches the seventh tree slowly. Its bark is smooth, unmarked by any visible carvings. For a moment, doubt creeps into her heart. What if she's not worthy? What if she doesn't understand after all? But then she remembers why she came here. Not for glory or recognition, but because the world has forgotten how to rest, because people everywhere are carrying burdens that were never meant to be borne alone, because sometimes the most radical act of courage is simply allowing yourself to be tired, to be human, to need care. She places both hands against the tree's smooth bark and speaks from her heart. "I'm not here because I have all the answers," she whispers. "I'm here because I know what it feels like to forget how to rest. I know what it's like to carry everyone else's pain and forget that I'm allowed to set it down." The tree begins to warm beneath her touch. "I understand that this lullaby isn't just about sleep," she continues. "It's about remembering that we're worthy of peace even when we haven't earned it, especially when we haven't earned it. It's about the kind of rest that doesn't ask us to be perfect first." The bark beneath her hands begins to glow with soft golden light. Slowly, gently, symbols begin to appear, not carved, but emerging like writing in warm sand. These aren't just musical notes. They're words of such tenderness that Alara's heart aches with recognition. The final piece of the lullaby flows into her understanding, and suddenly all 7 fragments weave together in her mind, creating something whole and beautiful and infinitely healing. She understands now why it was lost, and why it was time for it to be found again. The grove fills with the complete lullaby, sung by the voices of every dream singer who has ever walked these paths. Past and present merge in this moment, and Alara realizes she's not just recovering something that was lost, she's becoming part of an ancient lineage of women who understood that rest is sacred, that tenderness is strength, that sometimes the most profound magic is simply helping someone remember they're not alone. Yaoins reclaiming the melody. As the voices of the ancient dream singers fade into gentle echoes, Alara feels the weight of the complete lullaby settling into her heart like a warm stone. The fragments she gathered from each tree begin to weave themselves together, not just as words and melody, but as understanding. She closes her eyes and lets her breath deepen, feeling Silas's steady presence beside her. "Trust what you feel," he whispers, his voice like wind through leaves. The lullaby knows its own shape. Alara opens her mouth, and the first notes emerge, soft and uncertain at first, then growing stronger as the melody finds its way through her. The sound seems to rise not just from her throat, but from the earth beneath her feet, from the ancient roots that connect all 7 trees. "Sleep now, weary heart, your burdens set down." The words flow like water, finding its course. Around her, the grove responds with its own gentle music, the whisper of branches, the soft percussion of settling leaves, the distant call of night birds adding their voices to hers. She realizes she's not performing the lullaby. She's participating in it. The day's sharp edges soften into dreams. Each phrase seems to unlock something in the forest itself. Fireflies begin to dance between the trees, their light pulsing in rhythm with her song. The air grows warmer, more embracing, as if the grove is wrapping itself around her voice like a shawl. Silas begins to hum along, his deep tones providing a foundation for her melody. "Yes," he murmurs between verses, "this is how it was meant to be sung, not as a performance, but as a gift. Rest is not earned, but freely given." As she sings these words, Alara feels something shift inside her chest. All those years of believing she had to prove her worthiness, all those nights of lying awake wondering if she'd done enough, been enough. The lullaby seems to gently dissolve those old patterns, like sugar in warm water. The melody weaves through the grove, touching each tree, and she can sense their ancient satisfaction. They've been waiting so long to hear their fragments reunited, to feel the wholeness of the song they've protected. The elder grove itself seems to exhale with relief. In the quiet spaces between heartbeats, peace waits. Her grandmother's voice seems to join hers now, not as memory, but as presence. Ilara understands that every time her grandmother sang to her, she was passing down this same gift, this knowing that rest is sacred, that gentleness has its own power, that some of the most important work happens when we finally stop working. The lullaby flows through verses she somehow knows without having learned them. Words about releasing the day's worries like birds taking flight, about trusting the darkness to hold us safely, about remembering that we belong to something larger than our individual struggles. Sleep now, beloved daughter of earth and star. As she sings these final lines, Ilara feels the grove settling into deep contentment around her. The firefly's light grows softer, more golden. The night sounds become a gentle symphony of peace. Even her own breathing seems to slow and deepen. The lullaby is whole again, Silas says quietly, and there's wonder in his ancient voice. But more than that, it's alive. It's found its way back into the world through you. Ilara opens her eyes and sees that the grove has transformed. Where before the 7 trees stood separate, now she can see threads of soft light connecting them, the visible bonds of the song they share. The lullaby of the deep rest has not just been recovered, it has been awakened. What happens now? She asks, her voice still soft with the melody's afterglow. Silas smiles, and for the first time since she met him, he looks not ancient but timeless, renewed by witnessing the lullaby's return. Now, dear dream singer, you carry it back into the world, not to perform or prove anything, but simply to share what you've remembered. The grove hums with quiet satisfaction, and Ilara understands that she's not the same person who entered the Whispering Woods hours ago. She's become a keeper of something precious, a guardian of rest itself. Slumber's embrace. As the last notes of the lullaby of the deep rest fade into the night air, something magical begins to unfold. The song doesn't simply end, but flows outward like gentle ripples on a moonlit pond, carrying its healing melody through every branch and leaf of the Whispering Woods. Ilara watches in wonder as the lullaby spreads beyond the elder grove, weaving itself into the very fabric of the forest. She can feel it moving through the ancient pathways between the trees, following the silver threads of connection that bind all living things together in this sacred place. The woodland creatures are the first to feel its embrace. A family of deer, grazing in a distant meadow, suddenly lift their heads as the melody reaches them, their eyes growing soft and drowsy. They settle gracefully into the cool grass, folding their legs beneath them as sleep takes hold with unusual gentleness. High in the canopy, night birds cease their calling one by one, not in alarm but in peaceful surrender. Their songs blend seamlessly with the lullaby's fading echoes before they tuck their heads beneath their wings, finding rest that runs deeper than any they've known before. Even the ancient trees themselves seem to sigh with contentment as the lullaby passes through their roots and rises up through their mighty trunks. Their leaves rustle with a sound like whispered gratitude, and Ilara realizes she's witnessing something extraordinary. The entire forest falling into a synchronized slumber, a collective rest that speaks of perfect harmony. "Look," Silas murmurs softly, his weathered hand gesturing toward the spaces between the trees where fireflies dance. But these aren't ordinary fireflies. Their light pulses in rhythm with the lullaby's lingering melody, creating a constellation of gentle stars that drift through the darkness like visible dreams. The very air seems to shimmer with peaceful energy, and Ilara understands that this is what the world was meant to feel like, what it could feel like again if enough people remembered how to truly rest, how to set down their burdens and trust in the healing power of deep, surrendered sleep. She feels her own eyelids growing heavy, not from exhaustion, but from the profound peace that surrounds her. The lullaby has done its work, not just in the forest, but within her own heart, teaching her that rest isn't something to be earned or achieved. It's a gift that's always been waiting for her to accept it. Silas's voice comes to her as if from a great distance, though he stands right beside her. The lullaby will continue its work long after we've gone, spreading through the world in ways we cannot see, carried in the hearts of those who remember what it means to truly rest. The memory tree glows softly in the center of the grove, its ancient trunk pulsing with gentle light that seems to breathe in harmony with the sleeping forest. And Alara knows that every story it holds, every lullaby her grandmother ever sang, every moment of peace that has ever existed in this place, all of it is still here, still alive, still available to anyone who seeks it with an open heart. The stars above seem closer now, their lights softer and more welcoming, as if they too have been touched by the lullaby's magic. The moon bathes everything in silver serenity, and the night air carries the faintest echo of her grandmother's voice, not in memory, but in the eternal present where all love resides. As the whispering wood settles into its enchanted slumber, Alara feels herself becoming part of something infinitely larger and more beautiful than she ever imagined. Part of the great web of rest that connects all beings, all dreams, all moments of peace that have ever existed or ever will exist, flowing together like a river of starlight that carries her gently, safely, inevitably toward the deep and healing rest that has always been her birthright, always been waiting for her to remember that she is worthy of this peace, this love, this perfect and eternal embrace of slumber itself.